Hi, this is Flash Johnson. Today we're going to look at the layers palette. You'll notice we have the file that we scanned in a previous tutorial. So if I may direct your attention over here, you'll see that we have our two layers, our original and our working. We're going to just explore what options we have with the layers palette. Right now we have two layers, and there is another kind of layer called a background, which really isn't a layer. It's kind of like the cement in the floor, whereas a layer like we have right here is like a rug where you can have transparency. So if I come over here to the eraser, which I told you to never use, and I cut in here, okay, I see right through it. And we see this checkerboard in the background. That's just to let us know that we are looking into empty space. That's emptiness. If it was white, we would think it was white pixels. Or if it was any other solid color, we'd think it was a solid color. So Photoshop puts in that checkered pattern so that we know that's transparent. That's empty space. So I'm going to undo that real quick. Now, the other kind of layer that I want to show you is a background layer. So I'm actually going to take the one we're working with and I'm going to turn it into a background layer. I'm going to go up here to Layer, New, Background from Layer. Now you'll notice that it changed the name to background, and it also italicized the type, and that lets us know that that really is a background layer, not just a layer that's named background. And a background layer, like I said earlier, is like cement in the floor. So if I were to take the eraser and now erase in it, I don't see through it. All I see is solid pixels. Now those pixels are white, but they're still solid. Those are solid pixels. That's not transparency. And the reason it put white there is because it has to put something there. It's almost like we sandblasted the image off of the cement, and that's the color of the cement, so to speak. But the reason it did put white there is because white was the background color over here. So if black is the background color and we were to do that using the eraser on this background layer, well, then it would replace what we were erasing with black. So that's a background layer. Now I'm going to undo what I did here a couple times, put us back where we were. I'm going to put us back to the working layer. So we're where we started, basically. So let's just look at some of the things that we have here on the layers palette or panel. We have a trash can. If I click on that, whichever layer is targeted blue is going to be deleted. It's asking me if you want to delete it. I hit yes. So I'm going to undo that. Now if I drag the layer to the trash can, it doesn't ask me. It just does it. So be careful. Some of you may have done that when you're trying to duplicate your layer, when you set yours up. This next icon is Create New Layer. So I click on it once, I get a new blank layer. I'm going to undo that. But if I drag a layer to it, it duplicates the layer. So now I have a working copy. Okay, next we have the folder Create a New Group, but it's really like a folder. So if I take and make a new group, I'll just click on it once. It makes a folder called Group 1. Now, whatever I drag in here becomes part of that group. See that? I click and drag that layer and drop it in the group, and it's now part of it. And when I click on the down arrow here and it folds it up just like a folder, then you notice that it's all hidden in there, although you still see everything over here on the layer. And I click again on that down arrow to reveal in the layers panel, what layers are in there, and I can see them. Now I can also change the name of the group too. I can say this is working layers. What it really is a good way to organize because, right now we only have 3 layers here. But if you had 25 or 50 layers, it gets really awkward to work with and you got to manage it somehow. So sets of layers that go together you would put in one group of layers and you'd be able to manage them a lot easier. The eyeball of the group turns all of them off. Okay, so I'm going to target right here. Now I'm going to come down to this half moon. This half moon is actually the adjustment layers panel area. So I can come and choose any one of these and it'll come up as an adjustment layer. So I'm going to do curve since it's a very common one. It put it inside the folder here. This is an adjustment layer and this particular one is a curves adjustment layer. And if I come over here to my adjustments, I'm going to bring this closer so that we can see what is going on here. When I target this layer, curves 1, this is what we see. Now if I come down here to working copy, then it goes away. But I want to come back up here to curves again, and it's reading. It has a histogram. It's reading the light dark value of the image. So it's saying that there's a lot of black. See, all this is a lot of, not pure black, but there's a lot of really dark pixels in there. And that's true. It's all these pixels up here and over here and down here is jacket. So it's also saying that we don't have a lot of white. We do have some bright stuff, but not nearly as much as the dark. And a lot of in between. That would be her dress, her skin, his skin, and so forth. But this is an adjustment layer. So if I take and I move this, it affects everything underneath it. Everything underneath this adjustment layer is affected by whatever that adjustment is doing. So that's an adjustment layer. We'll talk more about the adjustments at a later time. Right now we're just getting introduced to the layers panel. Let's come on over here and look at this. This is add mask. Now it says add vector mask here because there's already a mask. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up so we can look at it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a mask on this. So we target that layer, come down, click on add a mask, and it gave us a mask. Now a mask is a very powerful feature in Photoshop. It is used by Photoshop to do so many things. A mask is basically a grayscale image. We'll talk about that later though. What we're going to do right now is just quickly show you what it's doing. I'm going to paint with a paintbrush. So I'm targeting, notice I'm not targeting the image. If I click over here I target the image, but I'm targeting the mask on this layer. And when I paint with black, it looks like I'm erasing the image, but I'm not. I'm just designating that area to be hidden, because whatever is black on a mask, it's going to hide that area of the image. Now if I paint white, I'm going to change to white here. If I paint white over the black, then I get to see it again. So I didn't actually delete it, I just hid it. The mask is being used to control transparency. And if I were to use a middle gray and paint in the mask, you'll notice you can still kind of see her face, but it's faint, and that's because the percentage of gray is directly equivalent to the percentage of transparency is allowed in that area for that image because the mask right there. Now I'm going to hold Alt down and I'm going to click on the mask. Now we get to see the mask, kind of gray, right? So I'm going to restore color. I'm going to get black up here, and so now I'm going to just put some black right here. And you notice you can see it also in the mask as well. I can change this. I'm going to go down to my panel options and choose a larger panel size so that you can see what's going on. Now that the panel size is larger, you can see the mask as it relates over here too, same thing. So when I'm painting black, you see it show up in the mask. And now when I click back over here, we get to see what's really going on. Right here where the black is, it's completely transparent. Right here where it's not completely black on the mask, it's not completely transparent. We can see a little bit of the image, but where it's white on the mask, we see the image 100%. So the mask is a very powerful feature in Photoshop. It's basically just a grayscale image used to control transparency.